Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we're talking about what I thought was the peak of the board gaming industry when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remember sitting at the table trying to figure out exactly how this dice rolling, press your luck, score as high as possible, gambling-esque board game was something that I could tackle and play. I remember sitting with my mom and my grandparents and rolling the dice and deciding which I'm going to hold on to, which I'm going to go ahead and score, and doing your best to get that famous line justifiably screamed, Yahtzee! And it was fun. And it was good. And yet, I'm making a video telling you why you should never really play Yahtzee again. The core system is brilliant, and it's one of the reasons why it's been a incredibly popular, very successful, historic game in our industry, but I have next to me two other games, Dice Thrones and Catharsis, that have both iterated upon the core system of Yahtzee and done so in a way that makes the experience not only better, but different and much more gamified if you're sitting at the table playing together. We have one that's directly competitive, that's you versus other players, characters rolling dice using powers and abilities, and a lot of themes that can fit a broad spectrum of players, even your young audience members who are just becoming familiar with the world of comics and the Marvel movies and the wider breadth of, well, the cinematic universe. And we have the RPG-loving, cooperative storytelling Catharsis. This game that's all about using your strategy and your powers and your abilities, sometimes helping other players to manipulate their dice, other times utilizing the dice you have to save up resources and do the killing blow to usually minions along the way and goblins and trolls that have started infecting the cave system that you're exploring. But every now and then you get to do the killing blow against a boss, and that also feels so good. And then we have Yahtzee, a gambling-style game all about rolling 5 dice and pressing your luck. As simple, as refined, as straightforward as a mechanic system can be, but mechanic systems are great, and yet they're not exactly a game. They're not fun to play necessarily for a long, extended period of time. I don't hear of people saying that they just love getting Yahtzee down to the table. It's fun every now and then. In fact, the copy that I have here is probably going to hit the table a few times just for the heck of it. But it doesn't make the core system a long-term gaming experience. Something that you want to put on your shelf and show to friends and family members when they come over, something that your kids are begging you to get off to the table, and your RPG or your board game group is asking if we're going on another mission or adventure, or if we're sitting down and playing through a round of Catharsis. These games are games that last. They build memories and experiences and tell stories and get asked to play again. Yahtzee gets played because when I was about 8, there weren't so many other good options. I mean, there was, Chutes and Ladders, there was Monopoly, there was Othello, which is a brilliant game, chess, which I was always outmatched at, checkers, which was fine, but was a little bit bland when you compare it to chess, and chess, again, I was always outmatched at, and, of course, Yahtzee. And then once the Game Boy Color and N64 and SNES got introduced into my world, board games took a backhand seat. I ended up only playing Hoof and Mouth with my grandparents, which is a card game all about waiting until it's your time to strike. So let's break it down, let's talk about this, and let's dive into why Yahtzee, while being brilliant and highly nostalgic, is not a game that you should purchase or ever play again. Instead, Marvel, Dice Thrones, or Dice Thrones in general, and Catharsis. Now, I'll leave links down below to where you can pick up these games. Marvel, or Dice Thrones, just finished another season of their crowdfunding campaign earlier this year. I'll leave a link down if there's a pre-order available, but you can also pick up copies of this directly on Amazon. So if you follow the link and you're looking at picking up a copy of Marvel or Dice Thrones in general, if you follow the link in the description, I will get some commission from that Amazon sale, which would help us out substantially. Catharsis is a company that is finishing up their campaign for the reprint of the original edition of Catharsis, the second iteration with lots of ease of play and quality of life and mechanic systems, upgrades, and updates. it's over on GameFound right now. I'll leave a link in the description down below. You only have through the rest of today to back, and then if you're watching this after, well, the first day it was uploaded has passed, I'll leave a link to the Catharsis website where you can pick up a copy of Divine Wrath or any of the other smaller packs they have available. So there's lots of ways to experience this game. Yahtzee. Why is Yahtzee brilliant? What makes Yahtzee fun? I think the obvious answer is that you're rolling dice and you're pressing your own luck. You're pushing the limits of what you think the world will give you, what the universe has reflected back that you've put out into it. It's a game that gives you high reward moments like most dice games do. When I get Yahtzee and you can scream it out into the air, that's insanely satisfying. It lets you score victory points. You see a direct reflection of how lucky or how unlucky you were, or how responsible with your luck pressing you've been. And it has some strategy. The score sheet breaks down areas where you can, assign numbers. And as you go through the course of the game, you start learning that certain areas are going to be more probable, more likely for you to roll than others, and so you should hold off as long as possible before filling some of those early empty slots. Gives you 3 chances to re-roll, which is a major part of the game mechanic system. You can assign dice over to the side, like that set of 2s, and go for another roll. And if you notice, the only piece that they sent that's upgraded at all, this entire box has the classic Hasbro marketing scam included with it, which is there's a giant piece of cardboard in here making you think the game is much bigger than it is. The only piece they included that's upgraded at all is this little cup. And this little cup is included for a very particular reason. And that's because shaking dice in a little plastic cup is satisfying. A lot of people want to play this game or get a lot of joy out of playing this game because of that noise and that feeling right there. Keeps things contained, keep things controlled. So we've identified a few points that are fun with Yahtzee. One, there is some degree of strategy when it comes to how you assign your dice, where and how you manipulate them, when you choose to score those easier scoring objectives. 2, the satisfaction of rolling is insanely noticeable. One thing that I think actually Dice Thrones and Catharsis should come out with is a rolling cup, because that feeling right there just gives you another level of sensory input, which is memorable, right? Nostalgia making. And 3, you are responsible for pressing your own luck. It is a game where its core system, the brilliance of its design, is pushing dice to the side and choosing which ones you're going to gamble with. That innate gambling sense or feeling is a very powerful, very compelling feeling. Let's talk about Catharsis. Catharsis is a cooperative dice rolling game where the objective is to complete a mission or a story. You're going through a stack. If I pull one out, one moment please. You're going through a stack of cards. These cards are an enemy, a villain that you're facing off against, and there are numerous iterations. In the core box, I believe there's 12 heroes and 12 different campaigns or missions. They have 2 other solo player small boxes revealed and published, and they have Divine Wrath, which includes an additional maybe, I want to say like 8 or 9 of each category, heroes and missions to go on. It's a RPG, a role-playing game hybrid where you have the narrative and the DM or the adventure is being conducted by a stack of cards by the creators of the game. Missions and enemies are coming up randomly. You're getting rewards, and each mission has its own unique mechanic system. Whether you have to collect as many trophies as possible, take down a giant big boss at the very end, or defeat a series of minions and psychological or puzzle-based challenges. There's pressure luck in the story itself with branching pathways and narratives, and the game is difficult. The odds of getting to the end and winning are few and far between unless you and the players around the table are heavily interacting, coordinating, and figuring out the way to use your resources to the best of their ability. In Catharsis, you are given a lead character. You choose a lead character, and like I said, in Divine Wrath, there are plenty of options to pick from. This lead character is going to draw 6 cards, and they're going to have their innate base power or ability. Their cards are coming from a stack of character cards, so every time you play, the powers that you'll be assigning your dice to are different. You'll draw 6 of them, you'll put them out into the board, and these will be the actions that you can take and also the life or the health that you have as you play. So one of the brilliant things in this design is as you get weaker, well, you get weaker. You get hit and hurt and slowly lose your abilities as you move through the game, making the pressure, the fear, and the challenge ramp up, and the decision of what you're going to sacrifice in order to continue the story all the more salient. On top of that, there's a ton of connected possibilities depending on who you're playing with. Every single character that you might potentially pair has their own set of pairings, meaning unique abilities that are shared between the cooperative mode of the game. So if I'm playing with 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals at the table, or if I'm just playing solo, I get to then have my environment, the game state, enhanced or changed because of the party that I'm going out with, something that you classically see when you're playing any RPG or dungeon crawl game. Your story, your adventuring party is important. It's prescient to the effectiveness or to the type of experience you're going to have. Now, various different characters have various different styles of play, from berserkers to magic wielders to dice manipulators. Some of them have a timing mechanic where you're trying to hold on to resources and extend the game as long as possible. And of course, they share that classic Yahtzee system. I'll just steal the Yahtzee cup here. I'm going to roll dice. 6 in Catharsis, all of which with their own unique embroidered dice if you decide to pick them up, or classic dice in unique striking colors if you get the base game without any deluxifications or upgrades. These dice then correspond with the cards that I have, and like in Yahtzee, I can choose to set dice aside, choose to roll again, and I get 2 opportunities to set dice aside to hold on to them and or to roll and gamble on what I can do. Now, this is cooperative, so all the powers and abilities that I have feed into defeating the mission, feed into the story that you and players together are choosing to partake in. So, if you have a kid that is still new to board gaming, that might be at the age group of Yahtzee being fun, but maybe not understandable, Catharsis is going to hop right in. It's something that you can take part in together. You could play a solo game or a double-handed game where you're helping direct the story with them. Something where they can do the dice rolling and you can help them figure out where and how to assign the dice. Or you can decrease the difficulty of the cards just slightly so that the story you're playing, even if you make some tactical errors along the way and aren't as effective or efficient as you could be, doesn't mean that you come to a screeching halt as quickly as you might in other regards. This is a highly strategic, very, very fun cooperative puzzle using and iterating that core Yahtzee game system. Now, the first game to really strike the market, I believe, was Dice Throne. Taking the classic 5 dice approach, introducing a set of unique power cards that help you manipulate and change the state of the game, giving you a beautiful board. I've got a Red Bull back here. I don't want to spill. Giving you a beautiful board in some iterations of the game, a layout system where you have areas or core powers and abilities that you're going to assign, along with specific traits and abilities subject to each different character that you're playing. So you have some people that are, like the Scarlet Witch here, doing magic, casting spells, creating damage, and infecting other players. You have other players that are going to just punch really hard if they get a full Yahtzee roll, right? You have a lot happening here and a lot of different ways to experience and play the game, but the core game system, just like Yahtzee, is the same. Again, I'm going to steal the Yahtzee cup. It's something that I think both of these games should actually incorporate or add as a deluxification or upgrade. Add it to the cup, give it a nice little shake, and these are the dice that I've rolled. Now, these dice have symbols and numbers on them. These symbols and numbers correspond to abilities that you have. Sometimes you're looking for the symbol, sometimes you're looking for the number, sometimes you're looking for a combination of either or. Now, that's one of the cool changes that they made in Dice Thrones. Along with that, they give you a handful of cards and special consumable combat power that allows you to play these cards. These cards can manipulate dice, they could do direct damage, they could change the attack that another player is sending your way. They have a lot of opportunity to influence and impact your strategy in the game, so a little bit more control than base game Yahtzee gives you. Along with that, the production quality is gorgeous, with the game containing these trays that allow you to keep everything organized, self-contained, and if you want to just play 2-player, grab 2 packs, hit the road, go out on a date, hang out with your kid, sit down for breakfast, and dive into a head-to-head scramble. This is a head-to-head brutal game. It's a game that I classically lose almost every time, which makes it not as favorable for me as a cooperative game like Catharsis, but my wife adores Dice Thrones. And she adores it because it's simple, straightforward, fun to play with identifiable characters, lots of powers and abilities, and she's a more responsible gambler than me, which means she's the one that is oftentimes annihilating me. Both of these games offer something unique in the world of board gaming and something starkly different from the core invention in the original game, Yahtzee. Now, I'm not anti-Yahtzee, necessarily. I think it set a foundation for brilliant games to then iterate and grow from. It's a game that I remember desiring to play and enjoyed playing when I was young, but after I'd played it 4 or 5 times, after I'd shaken the cup and rolled the dice and scored as high as I thought I ever would, which probably isn't as high as, most people when they're 8. Again, bad gambler. We've seen it throughout most of my history. I kind of put the game on the shelf and haven't ever really desired to go back to it, despite the fond nostalgia I have for it. There's a wider world of board gaming and a wider world of board gaming design, and these are 2 great examples of that. Like I said, Catharsis is finishing up their campaign, their crowdfunding campaign over on GameFound. I'll leave a link in the top of the video description so you can swing over there and check that out if you're interested and excited or familiar with this game at all and have been interested in getting into it. This is the best opportunity ever. They also hold stock of Divine Wrath and some of their solo packs over on their website, and I'll leave a second link where you can check those out as well. We have Dice Throne that just finished up, I think, their 3rd campaign, their 3rd core campaign. If the pre-order's available, I'll leave a link in the description down below, and I'll leave a link over to the Amazon page where if you buy from Amazon and you follow that link, 1, you'll be supporting this channel, and 2, you'll be able to pick up single packs or full sets of Dice Throne so you can check it out head-to-head in a 2-player, 3-player, 4-player mode or more. With that being said, thank you for watching, thank you for being here. Let me know your thoughts. Am I right on this? Is Yahtzee now outdated like most of the Hasbro product line? Have these games truly set the standard for iterating on a core game system or mechanic? Or do you think that it's maybe something that still needs worked on? Could other people do it better? Is there more out there that's possible? Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Let me know the next Hasbro game you want to see me break down and complain about with alterations that just might be a little bit better. And whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Spend time with your kids. Come on. I mean, whether you're playing Yahtzee, Catharsis, Dice Thrones, or any other game out there, if you're watching this, just a very stark, direct reminder, being a parent, being a husband, being a wife comes first and foremost. Sit down, go on a breakfast date, spend time with your kids. It matters more than you could ever imagine. We'll see you next time. Bye.